Now, Africa's private equity landscape is uncharted and at an early stage of development, but it is growing steadily and giving good returns. Joining us now from Cape Town to discuss private equity in Africa is Dapo Okubadejo, the partner in charge of corporate and finance and financial advisory services at KPMG, Nigeria. Dapo, thanks for your time. Now, of course, Africa is the word.
Thank you.
Wherever you go. Thank you. You're welcome. Wherever you go, everybody talks about Africa and how fantastic it is as a region that is growing. We know about the 7 of the 10 fastest growing economies in the world being resident here. But is that growth being seen within the private equity space? I'm hoping you can give me some numbers. You are from an auditing firm.
Yeah, I mean, my background, yes, is a professional services firm, KPMG, and I head up the transaction advisory for the whole of Africa for KPMG. Look, I think the private equity landscape in Africa has seen tremendous progress. In the early 90s, you know, there were just a couple of private equity firms. Today, we have over 150 fund managers managing billions of dollars. And in fact, as we speak, you know, many records have been set in terms of funds raised, you know, and also, for instance, when you take a look at a lot of the big funds raised, of course, we know that the DFIs have been the trailblazers as pioneer investors in this space. But today, you know, we have a broad diversification of investors, you know, ranging from pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, family offices, and all of it, you know. And so what we see today is also that the focus in the very early days used to be extractive industries, but now, you know, there's a broad range of industries, you know, and what is driving all of this is not only just the fact that, you know, there's improved democratization in Africa. We're seeing improved governance in Africa as well. And that governance is actually putting a lot of pressure on our government, you know, pressure of accountability and to follow the rule of law. So we've seen successful public sector reforms. You know, if you take a look at Nigeria, for instance, you know, we've done successful reforms in pensions, we've done it in financial services, we've done it in telecoms, and they are, you know, and we are currently in the process of doing it in power sector as well, and we still have also the petroleum sector in place. You know, that and also the favorable demographics. You know, Africa is blessed. You know, not only do we have very young population, there are over 52 cities in Africa with over 1 million population. That is huge. And, you know, just like Jim O'Neill pointed out, you know, when, you know, with his analysis of the growth environment score, when you look at the next decade, you know, Africa is going to be right on the top list. And there are 2 major reasons given by Jim. And the first one, obviously, is the fact that, you know, Africa is a huge market, over 1 billion people. Nigeria, for instance, you know, just about 160 million people. That's a very, very big market. And secondly, also is, you know, critical to the growth environment score is the level of productivity. I believe very, very strongly that the mobile technology revolution that we have in Africa, with over 500 million subscribers to date, you know, is revolutionizing almost every consumer-facing businesses we have in Africa. For instance, you know, from financial services, you know, the introduction of mobile banking, you know, mobile technology, you know, to drive banking penetration and also financial inclusion. So, you know, we're seeing the impact of all of this, and that's why I believe Africa is ready and has taken a huge advantage in private equity investment so far, and that's why the investors are coming to Africa.
Absolutely, I can understand why. Certainly the picture you paint is a very positive one. But let's talk about those numbers in terms of returns, and also let's measure that against risk, because of course risk and return live together. When you look at those returns, I'm hoping you can give me some figures. Are they measuring up against the risk that we know Africa traditionally has always been associated with, but that you are mentioning yourself is beginning to dissipate?
Yeah, I mean, basically, you know, when you take a look at Africa, you know, you've got to look at Africa from a long-term perspective. And we know for a fact that you can't paint Africa with one brush, okay? This is a continent with, you know, is multicultural, is multi-jurisdiction, different languages, different economic cycles, all right? So what is going to happen in, you know, when you take a look at returns, you've got to look at Africa from a risk adjusted return approach. That is the best way to take a look at it. And we, from a private equity standpoint, for instance, the studies on returns actually vary. We've seen massive amount of returns in terms of some investments returning 10 times multiple, in extractive industries. It all depends on the strategy that you are really adopting. If you adopt key strategies that I think, will win in Africa, such as, having a value chain approach to investment, taking a look at the sector approach across the continent, and also focusing on a buy and build or a roll-up strategy, there's absolutely no doubt that those returns are really very high. On a risk-adjusted return basis, Africa compares favorably, even if not higher, than most other markets. And look, when you look at the private equity penetration in Africa, at the last figure was about 0.17% of our GDP. It compares favorably with the private equity penetration in China, for instance, at about 0.16% of their GDP, and even higher than that of Latin America at about 0.1% of their GDP. So in terms of returns, it's going to be a function of the sectors, it's going to be a function of your strategy, it's going to be also a function of your very deep understanding of the local market, because when you look at all the statistics, right, all that we hear about is all the negative stories. I'm not saying that Africa hasn't got its own challenges. Africa has got a lot of challenges, but if you have people on ground, or you engage in the local economy and invest wisely, the risk-adjusted returns will more than pay for all of the risk that we talk about.